Hello, welcome back to PlayStation Access. My name is Dave and I am joined today by a very excited Nathan.
Hello!
Very excited because we are getting to show you Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which we have absolutely fallen in love with for many, many reasons, one of which we get to show off today, which is just how incredible it looks. In fact, we have titled this video, "Is this the most beautiful console game of all time?"
And actually it was Rob who suggested that title, and then he went away on holiday and we were like, really? And then we played the game, and actually, my God, I found myself agreeing with Rob, even though he wasn't here. We should explain what we're going to show, Dave.
Yes.
Which is, don't worry too much about spoilers. Obviously, there are things from the game. If you want to experience it fresh, you will be seeing bits of the game, but nothing past the third of the planets. It's all quite early gameplay. We don't give away any plot points beyond what's been in the trailers. So you should be safe on that count. No kind of late game weapons or anything like that. We should also say that the video you're watching is in 4K and 30 frames per second, which is the fidelity mode within the game with all the kind of visual effects. On day one, there will be a performance mode which will enable 60 frames per second, kind of that trade-off that some games do. But this is all in 4K 30 on fidelity mode.
That is true, and I would also like just to say that the HDR is turned off in this video, but if you have HDR, an HDR enabled device, you can use HDR too, and it looks amazing. But the first thing we want to talk about is one of the first things you'll do in the game. That moment that we all like and recognise, but it's hard to do in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, take control.
It's that thing of that moment where you know a game is about to say, okay, you've seen the cutscene, you've seen the intro, and then there's sometimes a little fade to black, or sometimes there's a dip in quality or whatever. These days less so, and in this game it's ridiculous that because it looks so good already, for it to be this there we go.
Yeah.
For it to be that seamless is nuts, and it happens over and over. And I kept on, and it's something Rob and I talked about. Everyone knows that moment. And you used to in old games, it used to be a big, like taking a massive step down, and now it's not.
Exactly, like in old games, all the cutscenes would be pre-rendered or whatever, and then you'd see this big moment where it switches over, and there's just nothing like that. Like the cutscenes in this game are incredibly beautiful and detailed. And then so is the gameplay. Like there's no disparity whatsoever. The constant level of fidelity in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is just off the scale, as we hope to show you in this video.
Well, it's kind of this is, oh man, I know what this moment is. This is the same level, and this is Nefarious City. It's one of the first areas you go to, and even the design of this world, the kind of layers of space traffic. In the sky, that kind of early 80s science fiction idea kind of brought through in stuff like The Fifth Element is incredible. Now we're on Sargasso, Dave. This is Rivet, who is the new character in the game. Completely different sort of environment, but equally, look at the kind of just the textures and the fibres in the air, equally incredible. Yeah,
I really wanted to show this right after Nefarious City, just because it is such a different colour palette and such a different environment, and it still looks so good. Like just the quality of the light, like it has actual volume to it, and the way that the number of particles in the air, like those those kind of like spores or something, like they can show off the different quality of the air now, that just suggest what this place actually feels like to be there. It's incredible.
Well, one of the things that we should say as well is that Dave and I, there's going to be technical reasons within the game, within the PlayStation 5, that make these things possible, and we're not the people for that. We're not the experts who can tell you about that stuff. Oh my God, by the way, now we're flying. But what we did want to say, and the flying kind of ties in with this, is that it's just more about how a game looking this good all the way through makes you feel as a player, and those kind of on PlayStation 5, having an experience which feels like a completely impossible thing to have played on any generation before this.
I mean, this would be a whole game. This is a small section of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, this flying section. Usually there are whole games dedicated to this kind of thing, and it looks just it's not an afterthought. It's not like a little side thing. It looks incredible. I love the quality of the trees, the quality of the foliage on the trees from this kind of from above. They're so thick and lush, and the animation on the dragon's wings is just so perfect.
Do you know what? I think this is kind of a little section you put together about different ways of moving around the world, or sort of freedom of movement. Now we're in the Blizzard mines, and Blizzard is obviously the whole kind of idea about the game is that the Dimensionator is back, and we're hopping between dimensions in rifts. And obviously that's a way to showcase that the PlayStation 5 is capable of putting together these experiences and making grand environments and moving from one to the other. But now we're grinding.
Yeah, exactly. And I love this, I love grinding in this game. It's so much fun. And this is really early. I mean, you saw a little tutorial thing there. This is another one from really early in the game. Just moving through the world like this is so much fun. You don't even have to do anything on this grind, but just moving through the city, getting to see it so quickly, just rush past the sense of speed, but without losing any of the detail and the amount that's going on in this world. It's so full of things happening.
Well, I tell you what part of it is, and I feel like we've talked about this a little bit when we've played things like The Last of Us or Uncharted 4 or Ghost of Tsushima. Sometimes games are just so there's like a real sort of luxuriousness to how much time you can tell has been spent putting them together. And when you're flying or when you're railing around, you're busting through this stuff so quickly, and it's almost, you know what I mean? It's like chugging champagne.
Right.
It's like, do you know what I mean? Like you feel enormously rich. It's incredible.
Yeah, and this we're still on traversal here, but moving into action a little bit, just wanted to show how those two things work together and how seamless it is, how you can use it as an advantage in combat, and how, like, I mean, obviously the game is called Rift Apart. It's all about dimension shifting. It's all about these rifts. And it just feels like something that just wouldn't have been possible before. The ease with which you're going to see it here in like a kind of a mid-level boss fight. The way that it's woven into the story here, or you know, into this fight, I really, really love. And on top of all just the other abilities you have, I love the way that Ratchet, his dodge is kind of like splitting through dimensions. It's just absolutely glorious. And we're going to get to see, like, as this is a bit more of an action-y sequence now, when we get back to the other dimension, just how many, like a taste of how many kind of like particles and things you can see on screen at any time.
Oh.
It's just insane.
And this is early game, so when you have, you know, like multiple wheels of weapons that are chucking out all sorts of, you know what Ratchet and Clank's like, all kinds of madness. I don't want to put any spoilers in, people can discover it, but there's so much going on screen, and like, you know, your things are fighting all of the enemies that can show up. And
it's just so smooth though. There's no issue whatsoever. It's just all so beautiful. At no point does anything remove you from this world. Had to put this in. Obviously, one of the most satisfying things to do in a Ratchet and Clank game is just suck up all the nuts and bolts.
I would say that for me this was like an enormous return. It's heartwarming to me, man. Like, Ratchet and Clank is back on this enormous blockbusting adventure, and it's so big, and it's on a new console, and it just feels like a return to like real glory days of console platforming. And it's not at all embarrassed to just be earnest and heartwarming in a way which I feel like, you know, some of these games have been around for a long time, and there was a patch in the middle where, you know, audiences maybe didn't connect with them in the same way, and it's just back, and it's, I don't know, like with the sort of the technical and the performance stuff that is going along with it, it feels like this enormous nostalgic but also cutting edge thing. I just, you know, it was such a treat to just sit down for a couple of days and immerse myself in it and just be constantly wowed. And that's the thing about, like, you know, massive blockbuster entertainment, just being wowed by things.
I think that's so true. Like that is really what this game can do. Like, just every second of it, every place you go has this wow factor. This is right at the start of the game, and I love this. I love that you can just, you know, the whole point of this kind of parade is to celebrate Ratchet and Clank. I love that you can just sort of walk them slowly through it and look at the crowds and wave at the crowds, and it's just so beautiful and detailed all the time. And like you said, it's like a real treat to just sit down for a couple of hours and just explore and discover and just enjoy the incredible amount of work and detail that's been put into this game. We're going to finish off by just having a quick look at photo mode, because it's a thing you can do. I mean, it looks exactly the same as it looks when the game is playing at normal speed, but you get to move the camera exactly how you like in it. And this is what I do in photo mode, is just slowly zoom around.
I would say one of my biggest achievements was not spending as much time in photo mode during this game as I did.
I don't know how I can go back now, Nath. I don't know how I can. Look at the cartridges coming out of the gun, like just stuck in midair. Like, it's just, that's something that's happening during the game that I haven't even noticed. I got this just as I'd exploded some crates behind these bad guys. and it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think we can all agree. I've never seen anything like this.
It's back. Ratchet and Clank are back.
It's back, but we have to go. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let us know in the comments below how you think Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is looking. Give this video a like if you think it's the best looking game on console. Even give it a dislike if you think it's the best looking game on console. You can't change my mind. Please do subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.
PlayStation